What's good, folks, and welcome to a playoff edition of the Cover One Film Room, part, of course, of the Cover One Sports Network. I'm one of your two hosts this evening, Anthony Prohaska, joined by Mr. Eric Turner. Eric, like I mentioned already, again, there's certain episodes where I kind of like dilly-dally with the lead-in. We kind of have some fun. And then there's other episodes where we're all business. A lot of times it's because of the guest. We're like, this guest has a time limit or this guest is this, so we're all business. Tonight, we're going to have some fun and wax poetically a little bit, but there is a lot of business in terms of the aspect and feel of the show. Because like I said, Eric, it's playoff time. Wild card round's coming around the corner. We got an awesome game to dive into and review on offense and defense and special teams. We got
out.
Oh, man, all three phases. We got some aspects that are going to hit you in the feels with everything regarding to, Damar Hamlin, as you titled this episode, a game for the soul. Just a lot to talk about and dive into for this game for Bills versus Patriots on the road to Bills versus Dolphins this Sunday for the wild card round.
Mm-hmm.
Big jam-packed, action-packed episode tonight. I'm very excited. How you feeling about it?
Good, man. Let's just give a round of applause for all the fans of the Bills, all the fans of all the Cover One shows on our network. The regular season's over, and we made it. It was quite the ride. There was a lot of adversity, not just for the team, but fans as well. Now after tonight, we do have to look forward to the playoffs and playing the Dolphins for the third time for the season. And but again, before we get to that, we got to go over the second game against the Patriots. That's what we're going to do tonight. And as Anthony said, it's going to be quite thorough. And we're going to cover all three phases because all three phases were needed to win this game against the Patriots. Patriots had a great game plan from top to bottom, and we're going to cover it all tonight in the film room.
Roy says Anthony's getting excited for the start of the XFL. I found an XFL hat at like a Target or TJ Maxx, something like before Christmas. I almost bought it. I thought it was so random. It was $3. Yeah. I thought it was super cool, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. No, there's a lot to hit on this episode from a schematic perspective and X's and O's perspective. But Eric, before we even really dive into that, what were your thoughts on this game just coming on the heels of everything that happened with Damar Hamlin in an aspect that shook the city, the team, the league, the world? You had countries that don't even speak English talking about Damar Hamlin as the lead story on their news channels and feeds. It was just something that really gripped everyone for positive reasons as it went forward. But initially, a very scary thing, something that hit everybody just in the feels, in your heart, your soul, your mind. What were your thoughts on just how the team came out, how the city responded, or just maybe how you felt like, because there was just such an emotionally charged game coming on the heels of, Damar Hamlin's progress and initial injury?
No, yeah, it's hard to put into words, honestly, because it's emotional, right? Everything about what happened was super emotional, and we expected as fans and players and everyone that was watching this game in Week 18, we all knew there was going to be some aspect of emotions and riding those emotions and that roller coaster that comes with it. So it was definitely emotional, and we're going to talk about some of those plays that, let's face it, we're always going to remember. Like, everybody's going to remember this, and not just Bills fans, NFL fans, and as you said, the whole country, the whole world covered this story about our team, about our players, people that we really follow closely, and so everyone had a stake in some way in this game, and so they were going to react to it differently. But and we talk about McDermott and Bean, and I mean, you can't talk about them enough and how they handled this situation and the whole season as a whole, but particularly this last week and a half. I mean, they really, really showed what type of character they have and what type of character the guys that they brought in, over the last few years and the foundation they built. So with that said, very emotional, but I'm proud to be a Buffalo Bills fan. I'm proud to cover this team, and I'm just proud of the organization and the Western New York as a whole.
That's honestly really well said. And just Man, with how the season started and what the Bills were initially trying to go for, and then you just think of on the field things like all the different injuries and everything that's hit this team, and then the weather issues and the travel issues and the 3 games in 12 days and just all the hurdles and challenges that this team has had to overcome, and then you get a legitimate life and death moment that affects
Mhm.
this team. And I love just what you said about McDermott and Bean and this team, like the resiliency, the leadership, the if you ever needed, and I don't think we did, but there were a lot of people who were clamoring, for Sean McDermott's head at different points. And a lot of it wasn't because of schematic things. It was because, well, the players probably don't respect him and, he's not liked and he rules this way and runs this and blah, blah, blah. If you ever had any questions about how Sean McDermott has the ability to galvanize this team, to lead this football team from the top down and by example, and how much he cares for the players and how much the culture of this team and the attitude of these players is an extension of Sean McDermott, you really got it over these last couple of weeks. I don't think in a situation that was so easy to misstep or wrong foot something, it seemed like every step that he made was perfect. Everything that he said was on point. And for him to just operate with that level of grace and
Mhm.
reassurance and leadership at every step of the way and every phase of the way. Yeah, I echo your sentiments completely. It made me tremendously happy and proud to be a Bills fan, and even more so to be, in this analyst role that we are
Yeah.
given here at Cover One, to be able to really dive into this team, because it's one thing to be able to analyze a good football team or good people. It's rare to be able to have both. And I think that's what we have with this team
Yeah.
and the leadership piece. And you saw that reflected in how things led up to this Bills Patriots game. And then you saw it in this game, especially leading off right away with just the
Yeah.
emotion. And man, you saw Nyheim Hines takes it to the house, and you saw the
Crazy.
emotion on the sideline and just the emotion of the fans. You could feel it through your TV. Just an absolute, like you said, memorable moment that everyone will remember for forever.
Yeah, it was a pressure release, and not just for the players, but for us as fans. I know at that moment when he scored that, I'm jumping in my living room, cheering him on. And when he crossed the goal line, man, it was like I was like Rudy's dad, at the end of the movie, just clapping.
Nice.
Like, I just it just was a pressure release, and um, that whole entire and beginning of that game was just a bigger than football moment. Like, it was one of those moments, again, as I said, we're all gonna just always remember that,
Yeah.
um regardless of what happens, over the next several weeks in the playoffs. It was not only one of those moments, but it really was the difference in the game. That's why we're covering it tonight, because yes, that emotional release of that kick return from Hines, was needed in many ways for
Yeah.
all three phases, and it's offense, defense, special teams, but also, for fans, and just it's just you can't make that stuff up. Like, it was just perfect, and the Bills needed it. Again, he got two of them that day. We're gonna take a look at both of those, and I just don't know what else to say about it. It was just something that that is very, very special. And as I agree with Josh Allen when he said it was, it's very spiritual, because it tugged at a lot of heartstrings
Mhm.
when it came to our emotions as, again, Bills fans, analysts, and humans.
The emotion piece of it, but also tied to, I mean, and Romo mentioned it several times, the lack of kick return touchdowns in the NFL this year, but even more so, the lack of kick return touchdowns ever since they changed the kickoff spot and made
Hmm.
touchbacks more of a realistic thing. You don't really see guys take it to the house anymore. And not only did the Bills get one to start this game, they got two of them in this game, which they needed to help beat the New England Patriots. And so when you think about like the emotion piece, but then also like the odds of it happening, it
Yeah.
just makes it that much more special and that much more like pressure release and kind of the feeling of fate or destiny or special or the storybook start that, Jim Nance mentioned. And, we haven't really covered special teams here in the film room,
We
but
don't
if
do it
we
often.
are, no, we don't. But when we do, it's for a very special reason, and this was a very special reason. Also, thank you very much, Snow, for being here
Snow, thank you.
and for your donation. He says I spilled my $14 beer with that opening kickoff return. What an epic game to be at! Yeah, most definitely. Well done.
That is, yeah, but it's well worth it, right? It was well worth that investment.
And that's accurate too. Like that beer, they're expensive. They're expensive at the
Yeah,
stadium.
yeah,
That's no joke.
yeah. They don't get any cheaper, that's for sure.
No, but yeah, well worth it. Well worth the spill.
Yeah, so let's take a look at a couple of these returns here. I'm gonna let this one play from the all 22 angle just to kind of show. I just when he got up the sideline, dude, I'm like, I think it was Wilson, number 30, right there. I was like, he's probably gonna get the angle, and then he hit a different gear at that like 40 to 50 yard line, and I was like, no freaking way, he just took that to the house. And look on the sideline. I don't know who this is, but look at this guy right here. He's like, oh, let me get a head start. Oh, Hines still beat me to the goal line.
I thought the same. Like when he hit it, I was like, sweet, get the ball at the 50, good field position. And then he kept going. And I was like, oh, cool, like the 40. And I was like, no, he just, like that. He's got long speed and he's got quickness as well. But you really saw it here. And as you pause it and show, again, I feel like people never really see the special teams world from an all 22 angle.
Right.
This is gorgeous. Like you almost have like a quarterback level pocket for Nyheim Hines to approach. And now he gets to kind of pick his poison with wherever lane he wants to go to. He fakes that, gives that little jab step to the left, and then you get the great blocks from Morris, the great block from Gilliam.
Yeah.
Oh, just sealing that. And then this is where you see it because 30 has the angle on him. Like he had a good job, but Hines just separates with that long speed that, made him, as of now, he's the greatest trade deadline acquisition in NFL history. I think he should be up there for NFL MVP. Just for his ability to hit the hole, the vision. But again, major shout out to Gilliam and Morris.
I'm curious on what type of return this was, because as you said, there is like a nice pocket here. Like, is this a middle return? Like he's supposed to be hitting it up in here. I'm interested in that because you'll see on the second one, it's a little more. You can see it's a little more, out in the open there. But watch. So I like the return here that's called, but it gets a little muddy because they kind of collapse it like a pass rusher's collapse in the pocket. And so he doesn't quite know where to go. But as you said, this block right here by Morris, and then watch Gilliam from the beginning of this, though, as they're setting up this little pocket. Watch Gilliam wrap around and then boom, seals that off. And then, of course, Hines off to the races, hits that next gear, and he's able to make that house call. Just unbelievable stuff, again, from that angle, especially because, again, it's kind of muddy. But when you have a guy with his speed, but also you got to think about him being a running back helps that vision piece, and he's able to make people miss on that one. And just, again, you couldn't create that. You couldn't write that script any better. And then this one, obviously helped the Bills later in the game too. But you can see this return's a little more pronounced. You can see here comes Gilliam across that formation there. He picks up him. And then here comes Taiwan Jones leading up that sideline. So this is a left side return. Decent block by Medikevich there. And then once again, off to the races. And the interesting thing, and I didn't get the chance to go ahead and double check this or confirm it, was that number 35, Pierre Strong, was a special teams player for the Patriots on that first kickoff. And he was on the very next kickoff by the Patriots. He was pulled off the kickoff team. And so Andrew Callahan, who is a Boston writer, believes that Strong was the blame on that initial kickoff return. So he's not on here, but the guy that's filling in for him is number, I think it's 27, Miles Bryant. And he's the guy who Hines hits right there.
Miles Bryant just cannot catch a break in these Bills games, man.
He did. You know what? The Bills owe him though, because it was a cover zero look at the end of the game.
And the first game last year.
Yep. Yeah. So you know what? What goes around comes around. Hines breaks that tackle right there on the guy who actually really liked him coming out, but he broke that tackle and then again makes another house call. But look at the blocking. As I said, Gilliam's coming across the formation. Watch Jones sell it. And Hines does too. He kind of directs this way and then bends it out the left side there. But look at the blocks at the point of attack. Good read right there by Hines, a cut up inside of Medikevich. And then, one-on-one with that defender, make a miss. Kicker doesn't stand a chance. Speed, hit those turbo jets, and get into the end zone for 6.
Hines is the story because obviously he's the one who scores, but you really have to execute as a unit up front to clear pathways. And we highlighted Gilliam and Morris on that first one. I want to highlight AJ Klein's block. If you see him there, 52, he's got the white elbow wrap. Watch him bury his man, and this is what opens up that lane. Boom. He takes his man down, sets it up, and then Jones comes through, Medikevich comes through, and then you got Siran Neal. Like the Red Sea parts a little bit. Medikevich doesn't hold. Nice job from him to kind of let up there on Tavai so he doesn't get that
Mhm.
call. But that initial piece from Klein just opens
Yeah.
it up, and then everybody hits their spot. Like Hines definitely does his job as well. But on a kick return, so many things have to go right. Like you have to execute as an entire unit. And I think this gets lost. Special teams always usually, gets lost in the shuffle in terms of the three phases of football.
Yeah.
But the Bills on the year for 2022, they were the number one special teams unit in all of
Mhm.
football per DVOA. And the Patriots, who ironically, who are normally a very sound special teams unit,
The worst.
yes, they finished 32nd. Last year, they didn't have a great year. They finished 18th. This year, they were 32nd. I actually
Yeah.
believe coming into this week, I think they were like 28th or 29th.
Mhm.
So this wrecked them a little more.
Mhm.
But yeah, tremendously important. And you see the opposite, right? Like great execution from the number one special teams DVOA unit versus the last ranked DVOA unit, all getting blocked and getting picked up, not in their integrity. And you get 2 house calls in a game, which in today's NFL, if you give up 1, that's bad. 2 in one game is
Yeah.
inexcusable.
Yeah.
And
And the thing with special teams to keep an eye out for next week is the Dolphins aren't very good either.
correct.
If you look at just their DVOA on kickoffs alone, they're 29th. So keep that in mind when you start looking at some of the do your research for the game coming up this week and how they treat a guy like Hines now with these plays on film. Do you kick it to him, especially even on punt returns too? Like
Yeah.
they're going to have some decisions to make when it comes to special teams and kicking the ball to Hines.
And we saw even later in that Bills Patriots game where Folk tries to angle it and he kicks it out of bounds, and the Bills get the
Yeah,
ball to start at the 40-yard line, and
you
Hines is
take it.
clapping it up. Yep. Like that's a huge piece. And in a game where, again, we'll see what happens with Tua and the Dolphins quarterback situation in general, but in a game where you do not want to give the Dolphins any opportunity to get in that game, any opportunity to breathe, if you are winning the special teams phase, that's already a huge boost and a huge start. And then add in the advantages they have for the Bills on offense and defense. You have the opportunity to really start to squeeze Miami from the start of that game, and the opportunity to kind of turn the tide and swing pendulums and turn up dials from a special teams perspective, which always comes into play when it comes to field position. But if you can put points on the board and take points away, ooh, man, I love that piece. That's a huge piece coming into this
Yeah,
upcoming game.
absolutely. Special teams. Again, we don't cover it often, but they do make a difference. It is that third phase. It does matter. This regime cares about that.
Yes.
And that move by Brandon Bean, as you said, that paid off. Again, you put this on film, it's not just going to resonate this year. It's going to resonate over the next couple of years with Hines on the team. But with
Yeah.
that said, after those initial emotions and that wave of emotions of the kick return, the initial kick return by Hines kind of wears off, and on defense, they're buzzing around. Like the Bills they're on another level when it came to play speed to start off their first couple of drives. But I will say the Patriots did settle in. And a lot of comments from fans after this game was how the Patriots got a lot of easy looks. Wide receivers are wide open. And I get some of that. Again, it's always a degree of like, I do get what you're saying. Because I do think this game plan on defense by Leslie Frazier was quite vanilla overall. I think it was quite vanilla. There were a couple exotic looks, but for the most part, it was pretty vanilla, and rightfully so. Again, you're playing against a division rival, Week 18, going into the playoffs. You don't want to show too much going into next week's game, so I get it. But they did get some big plays down the field, 3 explosive passes, so passes over 20 yards against the Bills defense. And as we know, that's typically where the Bills are really good. They want to prevent those big plays down the field in the passing game. But as we talked about after the game and leading into this show tonight, Anthony, it did seem like the Bills played a little more single high or cover 3 type looks as opposed to their 2 high shells, their cover, their, Tampa 2s, their quarters coverage that we're so used to seeing to limit those explosive plays.
Yeah, there was, you talk about the exotic pieces of the Bills defense. There were a couple pressure looks where it was like, oh, that's kind of exotic. But like,
Mm-hmm.
other than that, the most exotic thing the Bills defense really did in this game was just show a 2 high shell and then spin a safety down. And usually it was Poyer in this game. Dean Marlowe had 35 snaps logged as the free safety, 18 snaps in the box, but they were spinning one of them down so much in this game in that cover 3 style. And I mean, to your point, and we talked about it offline before the show started, that makes sense given who this Patriots team is, who Mac Jones is, what they have on the offensive line, what they have with Ramondre Stevenson, like what you want to, what you want to defend. And that commitment to defending the run, it seemed like carried throughout that entire game. And they were spinning a safety down early and often in this game, trying to commit that defender, not just even committing a 7th defender to the box, but making sure it was a safety and trying to have that run fit numbers gapped out advantage to a degree in order to limit the Patriots. And as the game went on and pairing it with the play action game, it started to, get at the Bills a little bit.
Yeah, and you heard Romo talk about how they're kind of figuring out their identity on offense and how they've pushed the ball down the field even more. And he was absolutely spot on about that. If you look at the 3 games prior to the Bills game, I think it was 14 to 17, weeks 14 to 17.
Yep.
Mac Jones averaged 10.9 yards per attempt in those 3 games leading into the Bills game, which was 7th overall in that span. And that was right behind Josh Allen. So they were pushing the ball down the field more leading into this game. So it was kind of expected. But again, Bills, because of the weapons that the Patriots have, they weren't completely scared. It wasn't a priority to stop some of those big plays because they want to stop the run game, right? But Mac Jones was pushing it down the field a lot more in those weeks leading into the game. And you think about that 10.9 yards per attempt leading into the game, those 3 games for weeks 1 through 14, it was 7.3 yards per attempt. So you can see the difference. And that was ranked 31st. So it was a little different offense than what they saw in week 13, even that short amount of time. And they were pushing the ball down the field, on 20 yards or more, 22.7% of the time in weeks 15 to 17, which is tied with Josh Allen. So kind of gives you a little perspective on, hey, yeah, they were completing some of those explosive plays and some of those easy passes, but that was really their MO. And again, it wasn't the Bills' priority, just from what we've seen on film when it came to what coverages were called versus certain plays and downs and distances. It didn't look like that was their main priority, but they did get some of those big plays, and a lot of those big plays came off of play action.
Yeah, most definitely. Also speaking to the piece of the vanilla nature, the Bills only, I believe, had 1 practice last week. So maybe from a game plan perspective, like that goes into it. You're not installing a lot of exotics and special schemed up, gamed up things for the patch. You're kind of, I don't want to say resting on your laurels, but going into a game with your core stuff because your prep time was reduced a bit given everything that was going on. But you hit on the play action piece, and the Bills defense as a whole is good against play action on the year. So coming into this game, weeks 1 through 17, 7th lowest completion percentage against for play action at 64.1%, 7th lowest QB rating against in play action, 8th lowest yards per attempt at 7.4, 9th lowest EPA per play, and the 9th lowest total EPA allowed. That's the Bills defense against play action. In this game against Mac Jones went 9 for 9, so that's 100% completion percentage versus their yearly average of 64.
Thank you, buddy.
Awesome, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you being here too, Daniel. Thank you. So Mac Jones went 9 for 9, which is 100%, which is way more than the Bills' average of 64.1% on the year. He had a 146.3 rating, which again is way higher than the 90.4 the Bills allowed on the year. And again, that yards per attempt, like his overall numbers, stuck with the play action. 10.2 yards per attempt there versus, again, the Bills 7.4 on the year, which was the 8th lowest. His ability to just what he didn't early on was nice as well. He hit the running backs and the underneath routes to allow for some yards after catch. And then when the Bills linebackers and second level players started to have to honor that a little bit. Oh, another one from Daniel. Thank you so much, Daniel. That's awesome. That's tremendous. Sincerely. Thank you very much. And then as the Bills started to have to honor that and push up a little bit after hitting their drops, that's when he started to hit those intermediate shots. That's when he started to look for Kendrick Bourne and Hunter Henry in the middle of the field and started to push it even further. So it was a nice game plan, and the way that they rhythmically attacked the Bills defense and executed at something that the Bills had defended well all year.
Yeah, and you got to realize, it's a divisional rival, and a win and you're in scenario, you're going to get this team's best shot.
Yes.
And their best shot with the offensive side of the ball was those play action passes. As you can see, courtesy of PFF, they ran play action 21.4% of the time. Mac Jones was perfect, 9 for 9, 92 yards on the day. As Anthony said, 10.2 yards per attempt and 1 touchdown. But if you look at when they didn't run play action, which was 78.6% of the time, Mac completed 54.8% for 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. So, it's one of those things, like, I get it. Like, even in week 13, they used play action against the Bills. They average like 11.5 yards per attempt against the Bills defense off play action. Like, that's what, they know the Bills are going to sell out to stop the run, and Stevenson and Lewis there. So, we get that. It makes sense. And so, yeah, you're going to give up a couple plays deep, whether you're in zone or in man coverage. And we saw that, a few times against Mac Jones. But I want to talk about one of the main issues, because a lot of people saying, as I said at the top, they were completing some easy passes. There were some contested catches. But I want to talk about why play action was so important, more so not from the coverage aspect, but why it really helps the offensive line and the quarterback, especially a quarterback like Mac Jones that is not good versus pressure. Because you got to think about this way, guys. When a team is running play action and they're running that play fake, the defensive linemen that are rushing the quarterback have to process pass to run. So they're running up, they're rushing upfield thinking pass, and they have to read their keys and then diagnose whether it's run or pass. So if they're flying upfield, they're running that play fake like it's a run. So now they're rushing in a certain way up the field. And then once it transitions to pass, they have to counter. But now they're already engaged with that offensive lineman. So now they got to have a different plan or go to a different plan to do that. And the reason I bring this up, because we're going to talk about how that affects a pass rusher overall. But there was a clip after the game and that I want to pull up from Mac Jones talking about how the Bills' game plan as a pass rusher overall was a little different in this game versus the Week 13 game. Because what he said in the video, the Bills they like to rush 4. They don't like to blitz a lot. And so yeah. So what they like to do is run a lot of games, right? They like to run a lot of twists, a lot of stunts. Well, in this game, they didn't. And a lot of that had to do with the play action. Because again, you're processing run to pass to run, but also had to do with again, this rush of, hey, we need to stay in our lanes. We need to get in our one gap because it's a run. Oh no, it's a pass. So now they're more vertical, right? So let me bring this clip up real quick from Mac Jones right here. Of course, there wouldn't be no sound, would there?
I blame Mac. It's his fault.
And he has a punchable face.
I was going to say, not to get off topic, I just find him so unlikable here. And I don't know if it's because I know that I think he's like a dirty player at times, but he's so unlikable.
Yeah, he's just got a punchable face.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And the hair's not
I don't say that about a lot of people, but he does.
We should just analyze his pressers and just how punchable his face is.
I was kind of pissed that I bumped into this clip, but anyway, so let's listen to this clip about Mac Jones talking about the Bills pass rush. Because again, he was only sacked once. And one of the main things was they didn't get a lot of pressure on him. And he's one of the worst quarterbacks versus pressure.
And the offensive line did a good job for the whole day. And it's a good defensive front, playing with a lot of energy and playing with a different style than they played before, more vertical in the pocket and stuff like that.
So again, what he means by that is with that play action, that's where he got a lot of those big plays, right? So the defensive line has to process run to pass to run, which also puts the offensive lineman on the defensive lineman. So they're blocking immediately and they can throw the ball down the field further. So the coverage being disguised really doesn't matter. Daniel, thank you so much, man. Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
We couldn't do this without guys like yourself. So it dictates the pass rush plan. And the Bills, they have a multitude of pass rushers, but they don't have a lot of guys that can win consistently one-on-ones, right? And especially if you're already engaged.
Yeah, the big guy who was able to win one-on-one consistently was Von Miller. And when he goes out the window, you kind of go back to not the drawing board, but who you were prior to his arrival. And, despite his punchable face, what Max said was pretty spot on and tying it in with, your analysis of what you've said so far. And it's when you have that play action piece, it makes the defensive line just have to play slower, whether it's physically because of, they have to go run to pass or pass to run, or mentally because you're like, here I go on the pass. Oh no, it's a run. Oh crap, no, it's a pass. Like it's almost like you're stop, start. And it's like you're in a car, like you're trying to put it from park to drive to reverse to drive like that. You're not going anywhere. You're kind of stuck in neutral. And that had an effect, and it tied into the pressure that we didn't see the Bills generate. But then when you saw the Patriots just go to their non-play action game, you saw that huge dip in the completion percentage from Mac Jones from 100% in play action to 54% non-play action. And that's when you started to see more wins up front from Greg Rousseau, from AJ Epinesa. You got to see some of those, those tech stunts and those spikes and those loops really start to take hold. But that play action game, again, it was a good game plan for the Patriots. Everybody knows that a Leslie Frazier defense and this Bills defense, when you have that run action, their second level players, those linebackers, whoever's at the second level, they're not going to sit with their heels in the grass. They're not just going to sit and play pass. They're going to honor that run action. And the better you are with the run, the harder they action on that run action. And they caught the Bills from time to time. Again, it was a good game plan and they executed well, but they weren't able to do enough in the non-play action game. And that's where it really got them.
Yeah, it's something that Anthony said. The Bills are typically very good versus play action, but divisional rival, win and get in game by the Patriots. It really just plays to Mac Jones and really it minimizes some of his weaknesses, right? Again, yeah, that pressure element, because he's literally one of the worst versus pressure. And so if you're running that run action, you're really limiting, and you're also dictating that pass rush, as we said. So there were many standouts on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, my number one was Taron Johnson. I thought he had a hell of a game. I did a breakdown on him on the channel. So after the show, we'll go ahead and take a look at that. But one of the standouts that we both agree on was Tremaine Edmunds, right?
Yeah, I guess he did some things. You know what's funny? Even when showing some like really good clips of what he did, the people who come on Twitter to be like, yeah, needle in a haystack, he never does that. I'm just like, why do we have to be so negative on this guy? But yeah, this game, he had several plays against the run, but a lot against the pass that continue to highlight his value, his worth. And it's not just because he's big or he's athletic. It's his ability to process, his ability to understand angles and how to leverage space and reading the quarterback, and sometimes spread his pterodactyl wings out like on this play and get a pass breakup.
Yeah, it looks like the Bills are in some version of their quarters coverage. And he, again, middle of the field. The Bills are number 2 overall in DVOA over the middle of the field. Why do you think that is? I think that guy in the middle of the field, that pterodactyl, has a lot to do with it, right, Ant?
You would think so. And it's almost like if only there was like tape available of what the Bills defense looked like this year in the middle of the field when he wasn't in there. Oh, wait, there is. And some of the things we noticed were how susceptible they were in the middle of the field, both in the short and the intermediate, but especially that intermediate to vertical, because of the role that he plays. We've said it for years, and so many people have called us Tremaine apologists or just say we're, trying to take it easy on him. What is asked of him in this defense, and Milano to an extension, and Taron Johnson to an extension as well, but we're just focusing on Edmunds here. What's asked of him is a lot. He bears a lot of burden and responsibility in terms of importance, but also in terms of the difficulty in what is asked of him. Having to get this depth and pick up, these vertical routes and carry things upfield, and having to process the high lows, having to constantly be put in this lose-lose scenario and have to make the right choice. It is tremendously taxing. It is tremendously difficult. And he shows up time and time again as a deterrent most of the time. But this year, like this, we're starting to see more raw stats. We're starting to see interceptions and pass breakups, more splash plays, so that people are able to connect the dots more on the positivity that he brings to this defense.
Yeah, and from the end zone angle, if you guys remember me showing it, he's watching that tight end initially, and he's chipping, and so that kind of cues him. Like, if you're having a chip from a tight end there, more times than not, that means the offense is trying to push the ball down the field. And Anthony alluded to that high-low. Well, that tight end, yeah, he's just going out to the flat. So now he has to get his eyes on the next target, the next threat. And this is while he's processing this, he's gaining that depth. And then once he notices he's got a bender route down the middle of the field, this is when he opens, and then he has to go find the ball there. And, him and Poyer converge at the catch point. And it just, again, we're going to talk about him a lot in coverage and maybe even one of the run fill plays, but there he is. looking at the tight end. There's a chip, and they want to secure Rousseau, who really was the only true pass rush threat from the edge position against Mac Jones and the Patriots. But this is just, once again, one of the reasons that Tremaine Edmunds is going to be getting paid quite handsomely, especially with the news today with that Roquan Smith contract of a hundy spot there today by the Ravens.
Yeah, a little unfortunate for the Bills that Roquan resets the market now as Tremaine Edmunds becomes an unrestricted free agent this upcoming offseason. He will get paid by someone. And again, this isn't just, us preaching the word of Tremaine. He is highly respected across the league by coaches and GMs and players as well. And, again, it's not just those physical aspects, Eric, like you mentioned, like him processing it and everybody watching this being able to see as we narrate how he processes. That's not easy. That's not normal. And he does it very well. For all the knocks that people give him and how he processes versus the run, none of that exists in the past. His ability to diagnose quickly and accurately is very strong.
Yeah, and that's one thing this year. He's getting his hands on a lot more balls, a lot more splash plays. And that's because his angles are just so much better. On that last play, as Anthony said, he's processing while gaining depth and then, having to flip his hips and go. He's processing those angles, calculating step by step. And on this play, it's a little different, but his awareness is standing out on this play because the Bills are manned up right here to the bottom of the screen. They're playing a combo coverage to the top of the screen. So it's a little combo coverage, a variation to their quarters coverage. So with these guys manned up, you're going to see Tremaine Edmunds has the running back to the flats here. But as he's heading to get the running back there, he realizes, hey, I'm right in the passing lane in that no cover zone, typically that 5-yard zone from the line of scrimmage, and is called that no cover zone. So more times than not, whether you're in zone or man, as a linebacker on this play, he doesn't necessarily have to just go right to the man. He can play in that no cover zone, and you see him right inside that no cover zone. And then as that ball's coming, once again, using that length to break up the pass.
How many times do you see, if you watch football, like that linebacker or that second level defender, as they scream down to take away that back coming out of the backfield, they have blinders on and they're just honed in on that running back, and the quarterback will throw it right behind their ear or right over their head because they're not paying attention. He plays Damian Harris out of the backfield while watching Mac Jones. It's the reason he's able to get that wing up there and knock the ball down, because he's playing his man while also playing the quarterback and also playing the read. So he is actively moving and engaging in his responsibility while also processing what's going on. He's effectively playing two players on this play, his man Damian Harris and the quarterback Mac Jones, which again is a tremendous play from Edmunds. And it was needed here. This was the third down. It forced a fourth down. Myers, not to get too off topic, good game from him. Again, he's a quality player, somebody who's not the most physically gifted, but he just succeeds in the technical aspects of being a wide receiver. He had several really good routes in this game. Yeah. But yeah, this is a big play from Tremaine. And, again, another splash play. So those who feel that he doesn't make them can continue to see them.
Yeah, speaking of splash plays, this is one of those plays as a run defender that, a lot of Bills fans have wanted to see from him. And he, from time to time has them. But we are seeing him come down and smash lead blockers like that a little more often this year. And I like Taron Johnson and Tremaine Edmunds on this play, but they know it's coming. You can see here comes the lead blocker. They're kind of bending this way so that they can kind of get him to come inside here and then have the running back cut up in here. But some great recognition by Edmunds and Taron Johnson off the edge here. Great recognition, but physicality, man. Take the fight to that lead blocker. Blow him up, knock him back, go get the running back and ball and bring that guy down. Just, again, tremendous fucking play there from Edmunds. Just good stuff as a run defender, not necessarily just a pass.
Yeah, like this is what people have always clamored for from him. And he attacks that shoulder of the fullback who's a tight end, but he plays through the blocker to the tackle point and makes the tackle. And what's also nice about this play came right after a good gain for the Patriots where Trent Brown, the left tackle, pulled.
Oh, it was a tackle pull, yeah.
Yes, and he got into Edmunds and blew him up and drove him right out of the hole.
Yeah,
big
dug
time.
Him right out there, yeah.
Yep, exactly. It was a great job from Trent Brown. It was one of the plays that Romo highlighted, and you can see it on tape. This is the next play. I felt like, and again, I don't know this, I felt like after that happened, Edmunds was like, you know what, enough of this. He was pissed, and you can tell, like, you don't see him, and I'm not saying this as a knock against him. You don't see him do this often, take on blockers in this way. He usually comes forward, he uses his hands, he uses his length. You don't see him often use that shoulder and attack and go through a man to make a play on the ball carrier. This was him being pissed, being responsive, and deciding to bring the physicality after what happened on the previous play. And this is one of his best run defense snaps on the entire year. Just his ability to blow up this play in the hole and blow up the blocker and make the tackle. Just, man, this is gorgeous. You can just, look at the snap in that blocker's head as he reaches back. Like, you can see just the motion go through, the reverberation throughout his body as he just gets
I'll
underneath
show it
them.
from the all 22 angle. So here's the blocker right here. Just watch him get blown back. Boom. Just totally knocks him back. I mean, that's what you want to see. Again, he's more of a coverage defender. His measurables and naturally gifted traits are mainly used for coverage. But with his size, he can start coming downhill more consistently like that. Forget about it, because that guy's going to be a problem.
Yeah, if he can show that level of physicality consistently with his athleticism and frame and coverage ability, that's a dangerous player that you have in this game, in this defense and in the NFL. And another splash play here for Mr. Tremaine Edmunds to effectively close this game out against the Patriots.
Yeah, it looks like another variation of their quarters coverage. But again, watch the processing. So he's got number 2 coming at him under Taron Johnson, over the top of him. He passes him on to the safety, and now he's got to get his eyes on these 2, kind of check down or outlet plays. And we're going to show it from the end zone angle. The pressure from Rousseau kind of disrupts the timing and rhythm of this play. And so Damian Harris is not able to reel that in. And then you see Tremaine just pounce on it. He just pounces on it, breaks on it, intercepts it. It's just something you want to see from him. The pass breakups are nice, but I want to see him get some interceptions. He's gotten a few this year and over the last couple of years. But watch the pressure from Rousseau off the right side here. Again, he's kind of the driving factor behind this. Wins the edge there with a little chop, and then you see him right here. He's already about to turn the corner here, but then watch him pounce right there too to get a piece of Jones. Again, just throws off the whole rhythm of this play, and the ball ends up in Tremaine Edmunds' hands.
I like how Rousseau flattens out a little bit too when he rounds the arc, which isn't the easiest thing for a guy of his size and his body type, but his ability to flatten out enough and then use that length to pounce and lunge.
Yeah.
Yes.
He almost with his right hand hits the elbow of Mac Jones right there. You could see it kind of affect that throw there. So it's just good stuff from him.
He plays to his, and I feel like I'm going to say something that people are going to think is obvious, but it's not. He plays to his length really well. There are a lot of players, not just in the NFL, but sports in general, who don't necessarily play to their attributes. Like, some guys have length and size, but they don't play to it and don't use it. Rousseau does in a variety of ways, whether it's, extending against offensive linemen in the run game and occupying multiple gaps, or like you see him in pass rush here. But, taking it back to Edmunds, I think this play was like the football gods rewarding him for all the quality plays that he's made this year that necessarily didn't show up on the stat sheet. You get like a double deflection and the ball falls into his lap, but it only falls into his lap because of his positioning, his processing, and his athleticism to close when he sees that ball get thrown and then make a play. And that's all you want to see from him. Continue to generate those plays, continue to play efficiently and responsibly, and, hopefully more good plays will fall into his lap.
Yeah, and one guy that, had some good plays in this game, and he's starting to string and stack together games, over the last month or so, is Tredavious White. It's been rocky. It's been a rocky return for him, I'd say, overall. But, regardless of the outcome of the plays over the, since his return, one thing that you're starting to see is his improvement with his trusting that, that knee. And trusting his eyes, because he's a little rusty, he hasn't played in a long time, and trusting his eyes under the play speed that is now being shown to him late in the year and going into the playoffs. And so this play, he was flagged. I think it's kind of ticky-tack, especially when you consider the type of wide receiver he's going against. But I want to slow it down and just show you his movement and how he's trusting his body now. And that's the biggest hurdle coming from an injury like that. So you can see him open up on that outside release with Thornton there, and then watch as Thornton tries cutting back across his face. again, he's into the body of him. Look at him just flip those hips. And he transfers the body of Thornton from his right hand to his left hand. And then look at him flip those hips, get his eyes onto the quarterback. And again, he gets called for a hold here. I don't like it, but I just love tracking his movement because I'm doing a video on him. It's going to come out here in a couple of weeks, but tracking his movement has really been the biggest thing for me. And just him trusting his knee and his legs that he can make those cuts and transitions that he did, last year and the years before.
When he first came back, and even at times during even into the Miami game a little bit, you saw him when he would have to break down or make those sharp cuts, instead of it just being like a 1-2, it would be like 1-2 pitter patter to like a 3-4, which is understandable. Like the mental piece is so huge. Anybody who's ever suffered any kind of leg injury, when you have to go out there and play, even when you're told you're 100%, you have to clear that mental hurdle to know, like, okay, am I actually good? And especially for a corner whose knee is tremendously important because of all the twisting and turning and stopping and starting and everything that's asked of you. Yeah, you're starting to see him show more confident movement with his technique, with his footwork. And he's somebody who, he's never been the most gifted athlete. He wins because of his good feet and his technique in his hands as well. And it's very encouraging to see him start to look and show semblance here and there of who he was prior to the injury. Again, he's not all the way back, but you're starting to see, little peaks of the old Trey White start to shine through a little bit. And exactly to your point, like you're starting, I think he's feeling more confident, and he should, like on that play there, like he has to brace, like his knees take that impact and he's able to withstand it and come out. So that's got to be a good feeling, not because he drew the flag, but it's a good feeling knowing like, hey, like, okay, I can do this. I'm okay. And you just move forward and you keep moving forward.
Yeah, again, that confidence from the top down. His brain is telling his lower body to make these movements and do these transitions. He's trusting that his knee is going to do that and react that way. His hands and feet are now back in sync. Like he's not 100%, but he's trending in that direction. So I wanted to show that play, even though he was flagged on this play. So this is the interception, and what I love about this too is, again, the action. He's pressed up at the line of scrimmage, but watch him motor out of this look here. So he's pressed, watch him motor out with those feet, 1, 2, 3, and then you see him open. Oh, he's releasing outside. I'm going to get into him, chest to chest, ball in the air, squeeze him to the sideline, track the ball, and then go and get it. This is textbook on how to defend a fade route, a back shoulder type play. And I love his footwork here. As you said, he's a technician, and it always comes back to his footwork and his quick feet. And we're starting to see it a little more, even from these press alignments.
Yes, and that's a piece I want to hit on with this as well. I think a lot of people think that press and jam are interchangeable terms, or if you're in a press alignment, that means like you have to jam, and like, oh, how come he's not jamming? Why is he not doing this? This is a soft shoe press from Tredavious White. And basically what that is he's in that press alignment, but he's mirroring the wide receiver off the snap. And he's been so successful at this in his career because of his lower body movement, because of the technicality. He basically runs this route for Nelson Agholor. He's completely in phase, backs up, matches, mirrors. And then what I like is they both get downfield. You see him get his hands on Agholor and then immediately gets his head to the backfield to look at Mac Jones. He locates the football, he extends, he separates, and he gets the pick. It's a really great play by Trey. My favorite part of this play, though, if you go to the end zone angle, is the ghost rush from AJ Epinesa. The way he just gives that quick little stab, there he is on the right edge, and then dips right underneath it for a guy who doesn't have a leap bend. Really nice move. He heats up Mac Jones into this throw, and then Trey capitalizes on the back end. So 2 really good plays from guys that the Bills are going to need down the stretch. They're going to need Tredavious White to be as close to that pre-injury Tredavious White as possible. And then AJ Epinesa, somebody who needs to keep contributing with the injury to Von Miller.
There's no doubt about that, man. I think this may be the last play from White. 2nd and 8 situation. He's at the bottom of the screen in more of an off coverage look, but so what we showed kind of that, that press alignment. We showed him kind of opening up, showing you some of that transitions. On this one, I want to show him from the shoulders up. He's reading this play. A split backfield. He's an off coverage, but you're going to see him, again, maintain his leverage as that wide receiver is releasing. And then he senses that break is coming right there near the 40. So he breaks on it. And that's where Mac Jones is looking to throw the ball. He wants to throw it there on that speed out, but Trey White read it like a book. He takes it away. Jones has to check it down underneath, and Marlowe's there to make the stop. As I said, we're seeing a little bit of everything, and you can see the break there, like transition. Look at him. No wasted footwork. Again, he's not 100%, Ant, but he's right on the brink of, that confidence being 100% back and trusting that lower body to make the moves.
Yeah, he's on the cusp, and this is something that it was a shorter route against Miami, but he had a very similar play on a third down against Jalen Waddle in that second game against Miami. One-on-one coverage, broke on the out route and almost undercut it. Like if Mac Jones makes this throw, Trey is in position. He's going to undercut this, and there's a pretty good chance and good odds that he's going to pick this ball off because of the position that he is in. Yeah, and this is what, again, is so encouraging because this is a player who he doesn't win by being the biggest or the strongest or the fastest or the best athlete. He wins with technique. He wins with his football IQ. And a lot of that is tied into how confident you are mentally in your body. He needs every ounce of every ligament and every joint, because in order to win consistently, technically, and with your football IQ, that's not an easy thing for players. So it's, again, he's not back all the way yet, but it is very exciting to see him potentially on the cusp here. Oh, awesome, Shane. Thank you very much, Shane.
Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, dropping a super chat and being here with us, Shane. We greatly appreciate it here on the show. And something else that we greatly appreciate, folks are watching here on YouTube, as we start to transition to our next segment of the Cover One Film Room. We would be remiss if we didn't mention our sponsors and our friends over at Nickel City Cigars. We pride ourselves here at Cover One in the unique approach that we have towards the game of football and towards the Buffalo Bills in terms of what we break down and how we break down. And that's why we were tremendously excited to partner with Nickel City Cigars, who they have a unique take on the cigar game. Their atmosphere, they've got an arcade, they've got TVs, they've got local craft brews, they've got, liquor, they've got the ability for you to order and pick up at their location or have their cigars delivered to you. Just the whole atmosphere, the environment, their approach to it, their veterans, we really appreciate the way they approach the cigar game. You can find their online link in the episode show notes here on YouTube or any one of the podcasting apps or platforms. Mention Cover One in store or online with the promo code and receive 20% off your order. So shout out to Nickel City Cigars. Also, awesome logo. Awesome logo.
Yeah, it is pretty dope, isn't it? Now, they're good people, veteran owned. We wouldn't want to do business or partner with a company that, we didn't believe in. So we appreciate them supporting us this entire season. Definitely hit up their website or go in store, use that promo code Cover One to set yourself up. And again, it's a good atmosphere down there too, as well. We try to make this atmosphere in the film room fun too. We try to cover as much as we can. We got through special teams. We got through some defensive breakdowns on Tremaine Edmunds and Tredavious White. So now it's on to the offense. And I want to get your thoughts from the top on, the offensive game plan, some of the things that stood out to you from Ken Dorsey, Josh Allen, and the Bills offense.
I want to start first with, I know people like to, especially Bills fans, like to jump on and pile on the potential Patriots corpse that has been existing these last couple of years and piggyback on Mac Jones not being a good quarterback. But this was a very good defense on the year. This is a defense that finished third in DVOA. They are still a well-coached unit. They've got a lot of versatility in their personnel and their packages. They've got a tremendous front. You heard it from Romo and Nance coming in this past week with being second in sacks. And Uche has really taken a step and a jump this year. Barmore is somebody who I think you could see be a Quinnen Williams type player next year and going forward. Yeah. He's a stud for them up front. I want to start there because I thought they were a good group coming into this game, and they did some things to muddy the waters a bit for the Bills with, their simulated pressures and their creepers and how they're able to disguise coverage on the back end and what they really did to mix and match and attack the Bills. But at the end of the day, Josh Allen, several big plays to really turn the tide. I thought there were some successful pieces in the run game as well. The Bills really, again, I think it wasn't a full game of efficiency. They didn't jab a lot, but they were able to hit several haymakers that landed them a knockout. And you have to find different ways to win. Sometimes you can nickel and dime a team and just be consistent. And other times you're just going to have explosives. And this was a game where the Bills generated explosives on offense. And it was the difference, again, against a very good defense.
Yeah, a very good defense. And I thought early, Josh Allen, rightfully so, kind of forced things to Diggs. I think he wanted to get Diggs involved early. And as we all know, Belichick, one of the first things he's going to do is take away your number one threat or take away your go-to and what you lean on. And so there were times I thought that Josh Allen said, screw progressions. I'm going to get it to Diggs somehow. There were times where he probably should have handed off an RPO versus a light box, but he said, screw it. I'm going to throw that back shoulder fade. That was on point. So you can't really blame him. And that's what we want. We want him to force the ball to Diggs. Luckily for the Bills in this game, and not even luckily because they produced it themselves. They were able to hit some of those explosive plays, especially to Diggs, as we'll see. But I do think that there were times early on that he was just like, I'm just going to go to Diggs. I'm going to try to get it to Diggs any way I can. And I'm okay with that. But I thought in like midway through the second quarter, he was like, okay. Let me settle in. He's like, I know this defense. I know what they're trying to do. I got my answers from Dorsey. That's when we started to see his processor start to kick it up a few notches. And I'm talking like to the levels of how he left off in the playoffs last year. Now, he did have some misses, but the way he was progressively going through his reads and checklist as a quarterback in the passing game, it was scary because his feet and his hands and his brain were all on the same page. And he was consistently getting to the third, fourth, and fifth options in time, in rhythm. Sometimes he had to reset, which is we're gonna show a bunch of clips of that, resetting in the pocket and resetting outside the pocket. But once that second quarter hit, he kind of was like, all right, it's time. And he started, hitting things that way and really started winning from the shoulders up. Didn't really rely on his legs like we've seen in past games against the Patriots, especially when they go to those man coverage looks.
I love that you used a phrase that I'm a huge fan of. Yeah, playing quarterback from the neck up. And we saw that from Josh Allen. I think the biggest takeaway for people are going to be like the throw on the run to John Brown and the huge bomb to Stefon Diggs. But it was the technical aspects of his game that were, for me, and I know for you to agree as well, were arguably the most impressive. His footwork, his arm angles, just his ability to process accurately and efficiently. He operated at next level at several points in this game, again, from the neck up.
Yeah, and speaking of working from the neck up, working through progressions versus a three-man rush, something the Patriots pulled out a few times. I mean, we talked about three-man rushes pretty much every year, several times a year. They don't work against Josh Allen because he's so good from the shoulders up, but he also has a big arm, so he can push the ball down the field, even if he's late on those receivers down the field. But he also can work through progressions. He can run he's tough to run these type of defenses against, but I want you to watch where he starts because this is the sail route to Stefon Diggs in the slot to the top of the screen, and he just drops it in there perfectly down the field. But I want you to look where he starts his reads and his progression. Initially, he's looking left here, and these guys are running a high-low. And we talk about it all year. This is a little bang route right there from Gabriel Davis, but more times than not versus these two high looks, you want a high-low. That's a nice high-low, but guess what? That's taken away. This is risky, right? These three guys right there. So he's like, you know what? Okay, let me go to my next guy. Where's my number 3? There he is. Diggs running that sail route versus what looks like to be some type of quarters coverage. And then Josh, again, left hash, 25-yard line, just throwing that perfectly to damn near the 50-yard line. And
this throw he's on the far hash, throws it to the sideline, 24 yards downfield. Again, that's just from north and south. That's not taking into account the yardage to push it from the far sideline or from the far hash to the sideline. And this isn't an easy throw or a regular throw. Again, just from a progression standpoint, you have to get from 1 to 2 to 3, and you have to process quickly, but also accurately. And then you get to 3, and then you've got to layer in this throw over the second level defenders, but also away. So you highlighted the 2 underneath defenders. He's also got to get it away from poor Miles Bryant, who's he makes a good read on this and he closes down on it. So Allen, he can't afford to put this on Diggs's numbers or even on his back hip. He's got to put him towards the sideline in order to get this ball away from the defender. This also speaks to some of the cool things the Patriots do on defense with Miles Bryant being a corner, but he's dropping as a safety, as a deep quarter player in this coverage is some of the cool things they do. And you highlighted his footwork there. Look how calm his feet are. Just relaxed, just hopping, just chilling, going, Oh, no, he's not open. Oh, he's not open. Oh, cool. Let me pull the string and drop this one. Oh, there we go.
And that's the thing. He
Bang.
pulled the string, as you said. It's not a rifle shot from him to get it to that far sideline. Like his feet are in rhythm, his eyes are in rhythm, so he can layer this throw up and over in time, on point, with perfect placement. I mean, just right on the hands. Like it just really good stuff.
And Bryant, like that's not bad coverage from Bryant.
Oh,
like
no.
he's there. He's got an arm decently extended. Like if this isn't I don't want to say a perfect throw, but if this isn't a high level throw, Bryant can make a play on that ball. Like Allen leads Diggs to the sideline, protects him a bit, allows him to make that catch, get his feet down. That's a very good throw, and it's not. This is a throw that like 7 quarterbacks in the NFL can make at most.
Yeah, and this is the play I was kind of referencing. This is the RPO type play here.
This
Bills
throw is
have
ridiculous.
Yeah, and again, I said that very very easily they could have ran it with 6 in the box here.
Hold on, Eric. We got to stop. One of our boys, John DeMarchi, huge fan of the show, huge supporter of the show. John, thank you for being here, especially on a big week for you. We know you're a Bills guy behind enemy lines in Miami, so this week is even more important for you. We appreciate you stopping by. And 1, being here, 2, the super chat. And John, I want to read your comment. He says, just an attaboy for the amazing cover 1 coverage all year. Thank you very much, John. And he says, Cook and Rousseau and Oliver, I have a hunch they all show up big now and take the next step. Allen's bomb throw to Diggs was impossible. Signing off from Miami Beach. Go Bills. Appreciate you, John. Go Bills.
Yeah, they're going to need those guys to step up, right? Like we talked about it. Like those guys are going to have to step up in many ways. And, guys like Cook, he's come a long way this season.
Yes.
And now he has a critical role, and in many ways has become 1B, 1A with Devin Singletary.
Yes.
He's right there with him. And he just adds a different dimension. And it's a good change of pace. And of course, John, you've been with us for years, man. We thank you for all the support over the years, and another year in the books, but we're not done yet.
No, the wheels continue to roll as we continue to push forward.
So again, on this play, I think the numbers game pre-snap is that the Bills have the numbers here. They have, 5 linemen and an insert blocker in Morris at tight end. And they could easily have just handed this ball off to Cook and had 5-7 yards, maybe even more.
Correct.
But Josh, early in this game, 2nd and 10 situation, bottom of the first quarter, he says, you know what? No, I'm going to take that one-on-one coverage outside release to Diggs. And he might as well have just walked over and handed the ball to Diggs, because that's how perfectly placed that ball was.
This one I made a note. I mean, I take notes during the game anyway, but I started the hell out of my notes because I wanted to see what this was going to look like on the tape, and I knew we'd cover it here in the show. This throw is ridiculous. The ball placement, the timing, the trajectory, the location, everything is just beautiful. And what I also love too, it's a term that gets thrown around a lot, the late hands from Stefon Diggs. No indication that he's getting the ball thrown his way. The corner doesn't even look back. The corner is still reading Stefon Diggs's eyes and trying to make a play. Diggs just runs this, and literally at the last minute, a little shoulder turn and the hands out, cradles this, makes a catch. This is a tremendously timed throw and catch from Allen and Diggs. Again, in a situation where the numbers in the read probably says hand the ball off, like Cook probably gets 2 or 3 yards past the line of scrimmage before he's even touched, but you got 2 players both making an amazing play, and it results in a play that we wanted to cover because it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And this is the touchdown play to Dawson Knox here. And there's just so much good stuff going on in this play. We talked about progressions. Josh goes through them. We talked about him resetting the pocket. You're going to see it from the end zone angle. Play design's very nice. They're trying to get the ball to Diggs to the top of the screen. McCourty's sitting up there, so that quick slant off the play action look, there's nothing there. He's taken out.
Yep.
So this is number 2. Usually that over route, crossing route there by Knox. Duggar's in his back hip pocket. It's kind of taken away right off the bat. And again, you got McCourty kind of hanging out there anyway, so a little risky throw. So Josh then looks to number 3. Here's Davis on the in-breaking route along the back line. So you have 2 nice backline type routes there for Josh Allen. Josh is now going to look to McKenzie. And again, I don't know if he's going to get in or if he just doesn't trust McKenzie. He says, you know what? I'm going to come off of that. So he's gone through all of his progressions. Now look what he does. Again, 3-man rush. he just resets. He goes, you know what? I got time. I'm going to reset in the pocket. And here comes Dawson Knox. Watch how he throws Duggar by as he notices Josh extending the play. Right there with that left hand. Throws him by, uncovers, but he doesn't just hang along the back line. Watch him work back to the ball.
Back to the space.
Beautiful, beautiful play. And from the end zone angle, and I love how we always talked about Josh, his mechanics improving over the years. You know, he goes through the progressions, but right when he resets, he wants to make this throw when his feet aren't exactly set. He becomes that rotational passer. There's the hop. Sometimes we forget about that. That hop helps him get his hips around, doesn't lock out that front hip, front leg, and he's able to place it perfectly to Dawson Knox. Top to bottom, man, one of the better plays in this game.
It really was. It was so beautiful. I also wonder if this would be one of the throws that Josh would classify as like putting both cheeks into it with how much zip he put on this ball. But you nailed it. The progression is really what gets me. Also, what gets me too is Mitch Morse pulling from center and then functioning basically as the right tackle. You know, he pulls to sell the run action here and then just sets up in pass pro. But you see this pocket is there to insulate Josh and give him the time. He's able to read those zone defenders. And like you said, you can literally watch him on this play go from Diggs, no, Knox, no, Gabe Davis, no. Let me look to McKenzie, no. All right, cool, I'm going to run. But then again, he recognizes and knows the three-man rush. He knows the coverage, so he evades slightly and manipulates the pocket, but then he gets his eyes back up and it's downfield. And this entire time, he had a solid base and good shoulder position, ready to throw. His feet were quiet. He was just ready. But then at the end, it's not like the perfect base. He just gets that hip rotation and fires it in there. This is a technical play from a footwork perspective. This is a technical play from reading the play out and getting through your progressions and going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to back to 2. Yeah. And again, you hit it. Great play by Dawson Knox. Like, you got to uncover. Like, don't just keep going to the pylon. Realize what your quarterback needs. And it's not enough, like you said, that he just uncovers. He goes back to the space. He recognizes where the voided space is. Because if he stays at the top of the letters or if he stays in the back of the end zone, he runs the risk of going out of bounds himself or being pushed out of bounds, or maybe even runs the risk of Duggar being able to undercut this somehow. Instead, he uncovers to make himself the most available to Josh. And that's a huge play, tremendous play. And also tremendous guest, Jarrett being here. Thank you very much for being here, Jarrett. Thank you for the donation. He says, great job this year, fellas. Thanks so much for all the great content. We appreciate the hell out of you, Jarrett. Thank you so much. Tremendous comment there and donation from Jarrett. And this play, man, like just so technically sound in a variety of ways from start to finish, top to bottom. Like you said, there was a lot of good plays in this one. That might be my favorite.
Yeah, that little right at the end, man, just, he tries to reacquire Knox. He finds him. Oh, my feet aren't set. I gotta become that rotational passer that Jordan Palmer made me, and he does, man. It's just gorgeous stuff. Beautiful. This is another one of those type of plays, sort of like the one to Diggs to start off. Like a sail type concept, a high-low between the 2 and 3 on this play. Diggs is in the slot. You have a clearing route by the number 1. But just watch Josh go through it. He looks to that bang route right here to Davis. It's taken away. There's a guy in the passing lane. So look at him quickly. Looks like he's reading high to low here. He's looking high and how they're respecting this clearing route. And normally, he wants to hit Diggs, obviously, on that sail route. But it's taken away. And so what does he do? He resets his feet. Watch the play action fake. Watch him reset. Work through those progressions right there. He gets a little pressure with Bentley versus Cook. And so what does he do? He resets, and then he's like, you know what? It's time. I'm going to check it down to Knox. Knox gets some yards after the catch and nearly moves the chains on this play. I think he gets 9 yards on this play. So, the progressions, the reading by Josh and taking what the defense is giving him, getting to the check down. And that check down, Dawson Knox, he's going to get some yards after the catch, and he does here.
Yeah, again, another good job starting with Josh, the ability to reset, get in proper position, and fire this one off. A huge highlight for me on this one is the timing of Dawson Knox's release. So watch Miles Bryant, poor Miles Bryant, we continue to single him out. He's number 27, boom, you highlighted him. He's got eyes in the backfield and is responsible for the area that Knox releases into. But he sees Knox with that chip, and when he engages with Bentley, Bryant turns and then goes upfield. And so when Knox releases, he's basically free, and it forces Phillips to have to come down from the middle in order to get coverage down on that
And
vacated spot.
right. And see, I wouldn't say poor Miles Bryant because he uses back technique. So he chases
Oh, well,
Diggs,
yeah.
right? So right here, look at the way he spins. He actually should be using that hinge technique that you see Taron Johnson, Matt Milano do. He should be flipping the other way. He should be looking this way. His chest should be facing the middle of the field. Why? So that he can keep his eyes on the number 2, Stefon Diggs, and the number 3. So this is just bad technique from Bryant.
Yeah.
And again, if he has his eyes, his body positioned differently, he's able to see, okay, I can space out Diggs and I can space out Knox. And again, he's going to give up this check down. That's fine, but he's in better position to chase him down.
Yeah, he's in basically a spot drop coverage, and he turns his back completely to Josh Allen, which is a big no-no, especially if you are that, conflict defender who has to leverage space underneath. Turning your back to the quarterback and turning your back to the play, exactly like you drew up that landmark that he has to hit. And again, even if Knox releases, okay, cool, you see it developing in front of you, you come up and you make a play. But because he exhibits that poor technique and chases Diggs upfield, there's just oodles and oodles of space. And Dawson Knox is a dangerous man once he starts to get going and turns into that juggernaut a little bit. And he was feeling himself after that play. He let Miles Bryant and Phillips know, like, I just carried you guys for a couple extra yards. Like, it's coming.
Yeah, so we're in the third quarter now, 1:43 on the clock, 2nd and 10 situation. Johnny Brown's in. This is the 42-yard touchdown to Brown on a play that the Bills used to run a lot more with Brown when Dable was in town. But the Patriots on this play do a great job of actually shutting those deep crossing routes down. But of course, Josh extends the play and is able to, tell Brown and direct Brown to get outfield. But as you can see, this is all taken away. This is gone. This guy, I think Josh said it on Kyle Brandt, the basement today, that usually this throwout is almost like a throwback, and it's usually going to try to hit McKenzie, but that's taken away, guys. And so Josh again tells Brown to get downfield, and perfect timing, and then just Brown just hits the burners and gets downfield for that big touchdown.
It's funny seeing you get the coverage on the back end from Duggar and rookie Marcus Jones. Marcus Jones stays home and picks up McKenzie coming on that over. And so that throwback option to McKenzie on that deep over is gone. Boom. You see Marcus Jones right there. He stays home. So that's gone. And then front side, again, Miles Bryant, who's in the 0 there of the 30-yard line. He's playing John Brown like John Brown is going to stay flat. He stops getting depth. He sits. And again, that's what Brown was doing. But Allen tells him to go deep. And what's so impressive with me about this is, and I mentioned it on Twitter, it's instantaneous. As soon as Josh signals to Brown to go deep, John Brown gets vertical. And like he said, just turns on the jets, the afterburners, and you can see every ounce of smoke being an accurate nickname for him. Look at the eyes are locked. Brown is watching Allen. Allen's, yo, bro, go deep. Hits him with that little hand signal, and boom, puts his head down.
That's crazy.
And just separates in an instant. And then great throw on the run, drops it in the bucket, but really great play at the catch point. This is an easy catch. He has to get some full extension. It's a cold day. When it's a cold day, that turf can feel like concrete. So he's got to bounce off that turf and make sure that he maintains through the catch point, because making a catch through the catch point and the ground is such a hard thing to do these days. But just, you get beat out of scripture. Also, shout out to Quentin Morris for getting just enough of Uche to start this play to allow Allen to get through on the rollout. But gorgeous throw, gorgeous finish, and gorgeous improvisation between these two players.
45. He threw it from the 45-yard line. Just a 45, 50-yard floater. He threw a floater on the run. The dude is ridiculous, and dude. We're so lucky to watch him. Just so lucky to watch him, man. It's unreal. Here's another play I wanted to show. Nothing fancy, but again, going through his progressions, resetting his eyes and his feet. So normally in this 3-by-1 set, the Bills like to run this. They like to target this curl by Diggs and swing route into a kind of like a wheel up the sideline on the weak side of this formation. And that's where Josh is initially looking. But as you can see, you have a guy dropping out here, getting to the flats with the running back, and you have a couple defenders right there. There's really nowhere to go for Josh Allen. So he looks at Diggs. He knows it's taken away. Tries influencing these guys a little bit more by looking the cook. But you can see 1 and 2 are shut down. Josh even came back to Diggs. I talked about him trying to get the ball. He came back. He's like, let me take another peek before I
Can I?
Yeah, before I can get to number 3. Number 3 is that deep over from McKenzie. We've seen him score on a few touchdowns on that. Really nice play design. This works, especially when teams are in that cover 3 look. But he doesn't throw here. A good break on the ball right there. So now he has to go to number 4. Number 4 is the curl route from Gabriel Davis. He sits on just inside the numbers there. And again, watch Josh's feet as Dawkins gets that inside move. And Josh is working through his progressions, and he's just getting from right to left with his eyes. Right there, you see Dawkins flatten Uche there. But watch the feet. He just steps back just a little bit, resets, and then the arm talent to make that throw for the first down.
Quiet feet, nice, calm, cool, collected, even though there's traffic and trash in his face and around his legs, which is always an uncomfortable feeling for any quarterback. But again, this one is legitimately impressive for him to go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 from front side all the way to the back side and maintain technique and poise while there's pressure and the pocket is collapsing and breaking a little bit because of penetration. Just, man, like this is a truly impressive throw, and he puts it right on the button. Like Gabe Davis doesn't have tons of separation. Like he runs his route, but it's not a bad coverage scheme and game from what the Pats are doing. And there's so many things, and like the bullets are flying, and he just stays calm and then rears back and fires it. Like Gabe Davis looks like a catcher. Like this looks like a pitcher to a catcher. Like a pitcher was just like, I'm just throwing like the 97-mile-an-hour heater, and Davis is like, okay, cool, let me grab it. Like gets down and secures the catch. That's wide receiver 2, Gabe Davis, just in case anybody. No, actually, I don't even want to stoke that fire.
Please. I've already fought that fight a little too much this week. But it's. Anyways, that was just good work throughout the game, right? And just good work of getting through those progressions for Josh Allen. He's starting to get to that point again, and how he left off last year in the playoffs. And so with that said, this is the final play of this breakdown. This is our Nickel City Cigars light up play of the game. I mean, it really wasn't much of a choice here. This one was decided as soon as the play happened. 49-yard touchdown pass to Stefon Diggs. So much to talk about in this play, and so let's try to unpack this after I let it roll, because we're going to watch this play several times. Here's the end zone angle, just absurd from the right hash. Again, down the far sideline. Diggs is outside, damn near on the hashes there. Josh throws him inside for a bomb. Big freaking play. Again, those deep crossing routes, right? You have 2 guys chipping with Singletary and Morris to kind of allow Josh to push the ball down the field on 3rd and 10. The motion by Diggs, and it's a double move. So he's kind of getting out here and then again going up the sideline. And he honestly didn't leave Josh much room to play with. He didn't hold that red line, right, Ant? We always talk about that 2 to 3 yard boundary just inside the out of bounds marker there, but deep drop, and then watch his feet. He's just bouncing on his feet. And then as he releases the ball, he's about to take a hit and just floats it up there. And I mean, when he releases this, Ant, from the 39 41 yard line, look where Diggs is. When he releases this, look where he is. And he led him so far. This rarely happens where Diggs isn't tracking it the entire time. Diggs says, oh my God, I need to get on my horse, take my eyes off the ball. I need to get to this point, then track it. Doesn't happen often, but he does that. He's able to late hands, like you talked about earlier, late hands. But that throw, how Josh led him inside just a little bit, that was critical to that catch, because if Josh just leads him where Diggs is running up the hashes there along the boundary, I don't think he's able to catch that, because I think the defender makes a play on the ball. But unreal stuff, and that's why it's our play of the game.
I love that point. Like there isn't any room to the outside, like the outside shoulder of Diggs on this route, because he's right on the sideline and walks that tightrope the entire way. So Josh not only has to get this ball upfield, he has to get it upfield and inside in order to allow Stefon Diggs to run under it. I love how the throw completely, no matter on both angles, like the throw just completely disappears from the screen. Like it's just a moonshot and then just drops out of nowhere. The pocket presence again, you mentioned it, the calm feet, just sitting there bouncing. He waits until the last minute to get this ball off. He knows he's going to get hit. He feels it, and he just rears back and launches it and takes a shot. And this throw, again, dropped in the bucket, throws it when Diggs is on the 32. Diggs catches it at the 4-yard line. And basically, so from a downfield perspective, it's basically like a 58-yard throw downfield, again, from opposite hash to the far sideline area. And honestly, like it's a picture perfect pass. It drops right into the bucket. This is similar to, you used the line earlier on that back shoulder from the RPO where, Allen basically could have just walked him, gave it to Diggs. This is the same thing, except it's almost 60 yards downfield from the opposite hash with pressure bearing down on you with no room on the outside. So you have to put it in the only spot where your guy can get it. This throw is ridiculous. Like, this throw is stupid. Like,
Yeah, this
what?
might be his best throw. This might
Yeah.
be his best throw in his NFL career, his career altogether.
Wild.
It's just nuts because you talk about the anticipation of when he threw it, and where
Yeah.
Diggs was, and he threw it to a spot. He always talked about, his mechanics when he was working with Jordan Palmer of dropping a pin and throwing the ball to that spot and letting your wide receiver go get it.
Yeah.
This is that to a T. Like this is that to a T. It's what he's worked on mechanically from day one with Jordan Palmer, and he literally just dropped that pin and then dropped that ball in the bucket on this throw to Diggs. It's just unreal. And I can't stop watching it, especially from this angle, because it's just so freaking
Perfect.
unbelievable.
It's perfect. And Diggs too, like Diggs runs this down like a center fielder, like tracking a fly ball, and just makes a beeline for the warning track and tracks it down. Like this throw is so hard. Like this is, I almost don't want to say anything and just let you like keep playing it on like loop. It really is. It's so visually pleasing to just like watch it. Like it just like, I feel like I'm in a nice warm bath. Like I just feel this play like walking through me, and I just feel calm. And it's just absolutely beautiful. I wanted to bring up this comment here from John. John, another super chat. John, you're crushing it tonight. We appreciate the call to you. John says, throws it from the far hash, 60 yards downfield, on the money to a wide receiver that gave him little boundary margin for error. Spot on. And then he says, oh, this is a good one. He says, this and the Jacksonville throw, his rookie year to Robert Foster, are my two favorite Allen throws ever. That was a good one. That was a good one. Bullets downfield. I was championing that Robert Foster wide receiver one train back in the day. Man, those were some good times.
Yeah, I had some of those takes too, man. And honestly, when John Brown scored that touchdown, I had like PTSD, and not even PTSD, because Robert Foster was fantastic that year with Josh Allen on those deep balls. But when I saw that 16 flash for the touchdown with his speed, I was like, Johnny Brown, like it was
I
funny.
still will maintain that if he doesn't get hurt going into training camp, he could have been a wide receiver 2 or 3 for that team.
Yeah, because when he was healthy, even early in that camp, he was ripping some routes, man. He was some of those like 2 and 3 break type routes were just it's disappointing.
He had another touchdown that year against Miami and Buffalo down in the red zone, where he fakes the slant and turns into that whip route and just bang bang pops and creates separation and gets back outside. Like he showed some real promise. And let's turn this into a Robert Foster podcast. I'm down.
I know.
Let's bring it back.
No, that was obviously that throw. Again, that's up there with some of the best in Josh Allen highlights. And Romo, you could sense and hear how he felt about that throw and what he said about it. But this game overall, all 3 phases, the roller coaster ride of emotions, it was very, as Josh Allen said, spiritual, bone chilling in many ways. And, a division rival, again, they just know each other so well. You're going against Bill Belichick and that team, and just so much adversity for the Bills to overcome. And they did. And it was just, again, the film was great. The film was fun, but the story of Damar Hamlin and his recovery and this team in Western New York is really going to be talk of the season regardless. But it was great to see them go out there and get that dub for their fallen soldier right now, Damar Hamlin.
Yeah, on a week where, like, speaking for myself, and I'm sure you felt some of this too, like, it was hard to just, like, watch tape and prepare for Bills Patriots, like, as us. So imagine being a player or a coach, and you're trying to practice or prep a game plan or work out. Like, I said it on the show last week with Greg, like, imagine you're the DBs in the DB room watching film, and you're looking over your shoulder because you know, like, oh, that's Damar's seat, and he's usually always sitting there, and he's not there. Like, it's so hard to focus. And football, sports in general, but football is so mental. Preparation is so important, and you're playing on a week where you basically only get 1 day of practice. You don't get a lot of game planning in and prepping in, and you're going in against one of the best game planners and situational coaches of all time in Bill Belichick, a team that is playing good football on both sides of the ball, but especially on their defense, and who is playing for their playoff lives. If the Pats win that game, they're in. They wanted it. They were juiced up. You saw the emotion when McCourty got that interception. Like, the Pats were feeling it. This wasn't an easy game, and to see this team rally and show that resolve and resiliency and have a complete football game, to be able to have points put up on the board from your special teams and have explosive plays and toxic differential plays in your special teams, your defense, and your offense. You know, again, I know it wasn't always the sexiest on the offensive side and the defensive side, but when you're getting contributions, significant positive contributions from all three phases, that makes you a tough outcome playoff time. And so it's a very encouraging thing to see the performance they put forward, but also to see these players and, you know, this team start to heal a little bit as Damar comes back to Buffalo, and, you know, their hearts can kind of go on the mend, and, you know, their mentals and emotions and all that kind of stuff as he starts to get better, and, you know, that the situation starts to feel a little bit better for everyone, for the team, the players, the coaches, the city. And Eric, that'll do it for us here on this episode of the Cover One Film Room. Real quick, as we start to look forward to the wild card round, Bills versus Dolphins, what's the first thing that's in the forefront of your brain looking forward towards this Miami game? Is it something schematic? Is it a specific matchup? Is it a specific player for Miami? Tua doesn't count. You can't say that. You can't give that answer. Is it, you know, what are you focused on? Is it something large scale? Is it something small, detail based? What's the first thing that comes into your brain when you're thinking about what decides this game?
I'm just interested to see how they defend Josh Allen this time, because flashback to the week 3 matchup when they did beat the Bills, they got in his head. And obviously, you know, the amount of plays that the Bills offense were on the field had an effect on it. But
big time.
What they did from the first to second half of blitzing, bringing pressure, and then the second half just dropping out and playing those zone coverages really got in Josh's head. And we've seen that over the years from teams like the Patriots. It was kind of Bill Belichick that came up with that. So I'm interested to see how they handle Josh Allen and what answers they have for some of those cover zero looks that they're going to show. Some of those, as we always see, versus the Bills offensive line and Josh Allen, those sim and creeper pressures. But those blitzes and those pressures that they cook up, that is their identity. It's unlike anyone in the league. And I think, you know, keeping an eye on that and how they defend Josh Allen is really, you could say that every week. But I think given how the Bills have augmented their offense and passing game with a strong running game, running against some of those looks is a lot more difficult, even if they are going to pop out, you know, eventually into a pass type coverage. Having all those guys near the line of scrimmage kind of clogs things up. And then you have a very talented defensive roster at each level, but more importantly, versus the run, Christian Wilkins, and then versus the pass and Holland. I mean, they're a talented team and a division rival, obviously, third time. There's a lot. It's not going to be a cakewalk.
No.
And the best thing that the Bills can do is use their offense as their defense, get out on the scoreboard early and get ahead and force that offense, whoever's in there, to have to match them.
Very well said. I'm in a similar boat. I'm going more granular, sticking on the offensive side for the Bills. The Bills' offensive line against that Dolphins D line. Wilkins is having such a phenomenal year, like you mentioned. Phillips is having a very good year as well. Seiler is putting a good year together. He's been a force since week 1. And I know Bradley Chubb hasn't been Denver Bradley Chubb, but he still has potential there on every snap. And the Bills' offensive line has been mercurial and up and down. And I think so much of this game, whether it comes to protecting Josh or it comes to the run game, hinges on that offensive line. And a lot of it, you know, tying into what you said, goes back to that week 3 game against Miami that we broke down. And the phrasing that we used was what Miami did in that game. They taxed Josh Allen mentally and physically so much. And if the best pass protection option against Miami is Josh evading pressure and doing Josh Allen things, that makes me nervous a little bit because I don't want to have to put the entire workload onto Josh and make him put the team in his backpack. So yeah, that's one of many focuses for myself, and I know for you as well. We've got a multitude of them, and we'll be breaking them down along with the game tape of hopefully if Buffalo Bills win in the wild card round next week in the Cover One film room, when you folks will see us again next week. But that'll do it here for us in this episode of the Cover One Film Room. I want to thank everyone who joined us tonight. We had a ton of engagement, all the super chats and the generosity, the kindness from that regard. Thank you folks so much. All the kind words that have been flowing in for myself and Eric and the brand from start to finish. Thank you very much for that. That encouragement and positive feedback and appreciation is tremendously appreciated from us. So thank you so much for that. If you're watching later, listening later, whatever have you, thank you very much for your post live view, listen, download, whatever you have. Whether you are watching live right now or watching later, please, 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 and thank you. We've said it a couple times in the chat throughout the show. Some of our folks in the chat have said it. Please drop a like on this video. Likes are the lifeblood to the live streams for us here on the show. So please drop a like on this video, whether live now or watching post live later. If you are listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, please rate and review and subscribe. Thank you very much for joining us. And Eric, we should probably mention some of the awesome things that we offer here at Cover One. Like, we do amazing shows on this brand pretty much every single day of the week. And then we've got articles on the website, but we also take things further with next level content, access to the creators at the Cover One team. And there's a graphic for this type of content that tells us about it. Eric, why don't you let the good people know what Cover One Pass is all about?
So, a lot of the topics that we talk about in shows, a lot of the topics that our writers write about on the website are from you guys. And much like we talk about in this show, we couldn't do this without you guys. And so, we get a lot of those leads from you guys that are insiders. And Michael's talking about join Cover One members and in our Slack channel. And like I said, we talk football all day in the Slack channel. It's one of the perks of being an insider, becoming a premium subscriber. So you'll get some written content on the website. You're going to get some video-based stuff that we do with a glossary, salary cap 101. We put together some stuff that only insiders have access to. When you sign up, you get a t-shirt and a decal, and that's going to change every year. We did some uncovered classes already this year where we kind of give you a peek behind the scenes. So there are a lot of different things that we can bring to you as an insider if you join up, become a premium subscriber. And once again, like, this is really what is the foundation of our company is you guys. You guys drive us, and your support really allows us to access all of these tools that you saw tonight. PFF, Sports Info Solutions, Football Outsiders, Huddle, to use the film and the telestrator. Like, we are able to do that because of our Cover One insiders. It's $57 for the year. Again, it's really what drives this company. You guys are what drive this company. And so we're sincerely appreciative of the guys that are already insiders. And if you can help support us, we would love it. And we've really become like a family. So all these people that are insiders and in the Slack channel with us, I mean, we're really like a close family and a really tight-knit community, and people that, end up caring for each other and becoming really good friends over the internet. Technology is great, right, guys?
Right. I was going to say, Michael commenting here on the Cover One Slack channel. I sat with Mike at the live practice last year, and then he joined us at St. John Fisher this year. He met up with us. We chilled out with him. I drove him back to his car, and we were chilling in the car and hanging out. So you develop a lot of cool, real relationships as part of this, and you get to support the awesome things that we do and develop the camaraderie and all that kind of stuff. And one other awesome piece that I wanted to mention before we go. A lot of the partnerships that we've developed as a brand allow us to give back to you folks in a variety of ways. And one of those pieces is our partnership with BetUS, where sports betting and gambling has taken off in a huge way when it comes to sports. And because of the partnership we have with BetUS, we're able to give you folks opportunities and offers to engage in that world. And here's Mr. Greg Thompson with some information on that.
Hey guys, Cover One is excited to announce our new partnership with BetUS. BetUS has live wagering on all major games, the best betting variety in the business, and an easy deposit and withdrawal process with the fastest payouts in the industry. Our loyal Cover One fans get a choice between two exclusive offers, either a 125% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,500 or a free $50 bet with no deposit required. Just use promo code COVER1 on the links provided in the show description below. BetUS. where the game begins.
Oh, Eric, I think that'll do it for us. Any parting
Yeah.
words for the Cover One faithful before we leave?
No, just thanks again. Huge thanks for joining us tonight, man. This was a fun episode. And as Anthony said, hopefully we're here in the film room next week with another dub in the win column.
Hopefully. Again, folks, thank you so very much for joining us, for all your support in whatever form or fashion it comes in. We appreciate it tremendously. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well, staying safe, take care of one another, be kind to one another. If you're going to the game this weekend, also be safe. It's going to be raucous. It's going to be rowdy. Watch out for crazy Dolphins fans. You might get that as they try to invade Buffalo and invade Highmark Stadium. We'll see what happens. So stay safe, be kind to one another, and hopefully we will see you all next week. I'm so superstitious doing this outro because I don't know what to say and I don't want to jinx anything, but we'll see you next week for another episode of the Cover One Film Room. For myself, Anthony Prohaska, for the birthday boy, Mr. Eric Turner. This has been another episode of the Cover One Film Room. Godspeed. We'll see you next week. And as always, go Bills.